afternoon to all. We warmly welcome all of you on behalf of the Institute of Banks of Sri Lanka to this program, Diploma in SME Finance. Actually, Diploma in SME Finance, it's around 8-9 months program. And first of all, I would like to tell about the Institute of Banks of Sri Lanka, private tell about this program. මම හිතනවා ඔයගොල්ලන් ගොඩක් අය ශ්‍රී ලංකා බැංකුවරුන්ගේ ආයතනයේ සමාජිකයන් වෙන්න ඇති. මොකද මම විශ්වාස කරන නිසා බහුතරය බැංකර්ස්ලා සහ ෆයිනෑන්ෂල් ඉන්ස්ටිටියුට්ස් වල රැකියාවක නිරත වන අය අපේ බැංකින් එක්සෑම්ස් කරනවා කියලා. ශ්‍රී ලංකා බැංකුවරුන්ගේ ආයතනය පටන් ගත්තේ 1964 1979 දී පාර්ලිමේන්තු පනතකින් සංස්ථාපනය වුණා. ඒකම අපේ චෙයාර්මන් සහ වයිස් චෙයාර්මන් ශ්‍රී ලංකා මහ බැංකුවේ නියෝජ්‍ය අධිපති සහ සහකාරාධිපති වෙනවා. ඒකම බොහොමයක් බැංකුවල උදාහරණ වශයෙන් ලංකා බැංකුව, People's Bank, National Savings Bank, ඒකම සම්පත් බැංක්, සෙලාන් බැංක් වගේ බැංකු බොහොමයක CEOsලා අපේ ඉන්ස්ටිටියුට් එකේ ගවර්නින් බෝඩ් මෙම්බර්ස්ලා වෙනවා. ඒතර ඒ කට්ටිය තමයි තීරණය කරන්නේ අපි කන්ඩක්ට් කරන්න ඕන මොන වගේ ප්‍රෝග්‍රෑම්ස්ද කියලා. එතකොට අපි සාමාන්‍යයෙන් ප්‍රධාන ප්‍රෝග්‍රෑම් දෙක අපේ IABF Intermediate in Applied Banking and Finance and DABF Diploma in Applied Banking and Finance. ඊට අමතරව අපි කන්ඩක්ට් කරනවා Post Graduate Executive Diploma in Banking and Finance කියන ප්‍රෝග්‍රෑම් එක. ඒක ගොඩක් වෙලාවට යුක්ත වෙනවා ග්‍රැජුවේට්ස්ලාට සහ DABF කම්ප්ලීට් කරපු අයට. මේ ප්‍රෝග්‍රෑම්ස් තුනට අමතරව අපි කන්ඩක්ට් කරනවා මේ වගේ ඩිප්ලෝමා ප්‍රෝග්‍රෑම් සීරීස් එකක්. ඒ කියන්නේ වසරකට ඩිප්ලෝමාස් 15ක් වගේ මාසෙකට එක ඩිප්ලෝමාවක් ඩිප්ලෝමා දෙකක් වගේ IBSL එක පටන් ගන්නවා. එතකොට මේ ප්‍රෝග්‍රෑම් එකට ආවොතින් ඩිප්ලෝමා in SME Finance එකටත් වසර කිහිපයක අතීතයක් තියෙනවා. එතකොට මේ ප්‍රෝග්‍රෑම් එකේ ඩියුරේෂන් එක වෙනවා 94 hours to 100 hours වගේ වෙනවා. සතියකට පැය 4ක් පැවැත්වෙනවා. මේ ප්‍රෝග්‍රෑම් එක අවසානයේදී අපි කන්ඩක්ට් කරනවා ෆයිනල් එක්සෑම් එක සහ ඊට අමතරව ඔයගලන්ට මාස මැද හරියේදී වගේ ප්‍රොජෙක්ට් රිපෝට් එකක් ලියන්න අපි ඉන්වයිට් කරනවා. එතකොට ප්‍රොජෙක්ට් රිපෝට් එකට ලකුණු 30ක් එකතු වෙනවා. ෆයිනල් එක්සෑම් එකට ලකුණු 70යි. මෙතෙන්දී ඔයගලන්ට කියන්න ඕන මේ ප්‍රෝග්‍රෑම් එක ඉංග්‍රීසි සහ සිංහල මාධ්‍ය බයිලින්ගුවල් විදියට තමයි පැවැත්වෙන්නේ. ඔයගලන්ට ප්‍රශ්න කැමති මාධ්‍යකින් අහන්න පුළුවන්. ඒත් එක්කම ෆයිනල් එක්සෑම් එක සහ ප්‍රොජෙක්ට් රිපෝට් එකත් ඔයගලන් කැමති මාධ්‍යකින් ලියලා ඉදිරිපත් කරන්න පුළුවන්. එතකොට මේ විභාගෙ පැවැත්වෙනකොට පාස් මාක් එක වෙන්නේ 51. මෙරිට් පාස් එක වෙනවා 65, ඩිස්ටින්ක්ෂන් පාස් එක වෙනවා 81. ඉතින් එතකොට අපි ඔයගලන්ගෙන් බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ ප්‍රෝග්‍රෑම් එක සරල විදියට ගන්න එපා. හැමදාම ලෙක්චර්ස් වලට පැමිණෙන්න. මොකද ලෙක්චර් පැනල් එක SME සෙක්ටර් එකේ ඉන්න ප්‍රවීණයන්ගෙන් සමන්විත වෙන්නේ. ඉතින් ඔයගලන් උපරිමය රිසෝස් පර්සන් ගෙන් ගන්න බලන්න. ඒත් එක්කම හොඳ පාස් එකකට, මෙරිට් පාස් එකකට, ඩිස්ටින්ක්ෂන් පාස් එකකට වගේ යන්න උත්සාහ කරන්න. මේ සැසිය පැවැත්වුණාට ඔන්ලයින් ප්‍රෝග්‍රෑම් එකක් විදියට ෆයිනල් එක්සෑම් එක පැවැත්වෙන්නේ on site. ඒ කියන්නේ IBSL එක ඇතුලේ පැවැත්වෙන IBSL එකේ ප්‍රෝග්‍රෑම් එක. ඔයගලන්ට එන්න සිද්ධ වෙනවා ෆයිනල් එක්සෑම් එකට. ඒත් එක්කම රිසෝස් පර්සන්ලාගේ අවශ්‍යතාවයක් වුණොත් සමහර මොඩියුල්ස් උත් අපි ඔයගලන්ට කැඳවීමක් කරනවා on site ප්‍රෝග්‍රෑම් එකක් විදියට කරන්න. ඊට පස්සේ මම කැමතියි අපේ රිසෝස් පැනල් එක හඳුන්වා දෙන්න. අපේ රිසෝස් පැනල් එකේ අද අපේ රිසෝස් පර්සන් විදියට ඉන්නේ මිස්ටර් හසිත විජේසුන්දර සර්. අපිත් එක්ක දීර්ඝ කාලයක් තිස්සේ IBSL එකත් එක්ක සහ සම්බන්ධ වෙච්ච රිසෝස් පර්සන් කෙනෙක්. SME සෙක්ටර් එකේ වගේම මයික්‍රෝ ෆයිනෑන්ස් සෙක්ටර් එකේ සර්ට ගොඩක්ම අත්දැකීම් බහුල සර් කෙනෙක් විදිහට හඳුන්වන්න පුළුවන් හසිත සර්ව. ඉතින් ඇත්තටම හසිත සර් අපේ ප්‍රෝග්‍රෑම් එකත් එක්ක සම්බන්ධ වීම ගැන අපි ඒක අපේ ප්‍රෝග්‍රෑම් එකට ලොකු සම්පතක් විදිහට අපි සලකනවා. හසිත සර් ගැන කිව්වොත් USA IT පාර්ට්නර් කෙනෙක් විදියට දැනට කටයුතු කරන්නේ. ඒ කියන්නේ සර්ට ලංකාව තුල වෙන්ම ජාත්‍යන්තර එක්ස්පීරියන්ස් සහ ඒ පිළිබඳ පළපුරුද්ද තියෙනවා. ලෙක්චරර් කෙනෙක් මෙන්ම සෙක්ටර් එක සම්බන්ධයෙන්ුත් ඊට ඉස්සෙල්ලා senior advisor GIZ SME development project and microfinance sector in GIZ ඒත් එක්කම ඊට පෙර සර්ගේ පළමු experience තියෙන NDB bank එකේ manager කෙනෙක් විදියට. ඉතින් සර් ගැන කතා කරනවා නම් සර්ට තියෙනවා masters attorney at law තියෙනවා. මේ කියන්නේ වෘත්තීය නීතිඥයෙක් විදියට ඉන්නවා. ඒත් එක්කම සර්ට masters තියෙනවා. masters in economics තියෙනවා. MA in economics from University of Colombo. ඒත් එක්කම LLM masters in law University of Colombo, bachelors of law LLB from Open University, bachelor of science BSc, and also diploma in international relations. Yana qualifications were Amatara is the fellow member of the Chartered Management Institute, fellow of the Sri Lanka Economic Association, attorney at law, and also is the DABF qualified member of the Institute of Bankers of Sri Lanka. එතකොට සර්ට අමතරව මේ ඇත්තටම සර්ට vast experience තියෙන ඔයගලන්ට තේරෙයි lectures වල සම්බන්ධ වෙන අතරේදී සර්ගෙන් ඔයගලන්ට කොයිතරම් දේවල් ගන්න පුළුවන්ද කියලා. ඒක පොතේ පතේ දේවල් වලින් නෙමෙයි අත්දැකීම් තුලින් ගොඩක් දේවල් ඔයගලන්ට හසිත සර්ගෙන් ගන්න පුළුවන්. ඒක මමත් කියන්නේ අත්දැකීම් තුලින් සර් මේ ක්ෂේත්‍රයේ ඉන්න ප්‍රවීණයෙක් විදියට සලකන්න පුළුවන් experience අතිනුත්. ඊට අමතරව මේ program එකට lectures කරන්න සම්බන්ධ වෙන මිසස් ඩෙල්රින් සෙනවිරත්න එතුමිය තමයි හිටපු Deputy CEO of the Sanasa Development Bank. ඒත් එක්කම අපේ Mr. ඉන්දික කුඩාගමගේ සම්බන්ධ වෙන සර් Assistant Vice President of the National Development Bank, Business Banking, SME Microfinance and Liabilities. එතකොට මේ ටික තමයි මට ඔයගලන්ගෙන් කියන්න තියෙන්නේ. මට ඔයගලන්ගෙන් ඉල්ලීමක් කරන්න තියෙන්නේ කරුණා කරලා හැමදාම lectures වලට එන්න. මොකද විශේෂයෙන්ම online lectures වලදී ඔයගලන්ගේ පැමිණීම අඩු නොතින් ඒක අර video recordings වලින් බලලා ඒ අඩුව පුරවන්න කියලා හිතාගෙන online lectures වලට නොපැමිණ සිටින්න එපා. මොකද අපිට දැනෙනවා සාමාන්‍ය online lectures කරලා තියෙන exams වල pass rate එකේ යම් අඩුවක් තියෙනවා on site lectures කරලා තියෙන exams වලට වැඩිය. ඒක නිසා මේක චුට්ටක් වගකීමක් සහිතව කරන්න. ඔයගලන් nomineesලා නා ඔයගලන්ගේ banks වල ඔයගලන්ගේ banks ඔයගලන් වෙනුවෙන් ලොකු වියදමක් දරනවා. එහෙම නැත්නම් ඔබේ අතේ මුදල සහ ඔබේ කාලයත් ඔබ වියදම් කරනවා. ඉතින් SME diploma එක සාර්ථකව හදාරන්න හොඳ පාස් එකකට යන්න. ඒත් එක්කම ඒ තුලින් ඔබ උපයාගත් දැනුම තුලින් ඔබේ බැංකුවට සහ ඔබේ ශාස්ත්‍රයට සේවයක් කරන්න හැකි වේවායි කියලා ප්‍රාර්ථනා කරමින් මම ආරාධනා කරනවා අපේ මිස්ටර් හසිත විජේසුන්දරට සෙෂන් එක පටන් ගන්න විදිහට. බොහොම ස්තුතියි.
හරි එහෙමනම් සියලු දෙනාටම සුබ දවසක් වේවා කියලා ප්‍රාර්ථනා කරනවා. අද මේ වැඩසටහනට so I will do this in both Sinhala and English languages because I have understood that there are some Tamil speaking colleagues also. So what I would try to balance, but I would like if there would be any possibility, or if you don't understand anything, then mama Sinhalen karnakota eka hariyata therunne naththam, or if I am doing it in English medium, if you have any problem, please switch on your mic and tell, so then we can do and we can re-explain. So thank you, Ms. Buddhika Godakanda, the director of the Institute of Bankers, for inviting me and kindly introducing me. So as she said, my dear colleagues, this is a very, very important program which we will start. Actually, in fact, I have to inform you now. Today we have a very quite an official ceremonial session. So I don't want to go into much deeper discussion or lecturing today, because what I heard is now we have around 28 colleagues or 28 students in this program, but there are a number of registration also will be due within next week. So we will roll out the full program from next week onwards. So from next week onwards, you have lectures from 1:30 to 4:30. So 1:30, 2:30, 3:30, 4:30, around 4:30, 5:30. So that is the sort of arrangement, and then we will do a number of sessions. So before we venture, I would like to have a bit of a understanding of you. If possible, I will request you to switch on your camera and introduce yourself, right? But if it is so uncomfortable, you can just switch on your mic and then you can introduce. Api podi self introduction එකක් ඉස්සෙල්ලා අරගමු. ඒ self introduction එකේදී මට පොඩි අවබෝධයක් ඇති වෙනවා අපි අපේ ඉන්න අපේ සහෘදයෝ එහෙම නැත්නම් අපේ ඉන්න මේ මම කැමති නෑ ළමයි කියන්න ස්ටුඩන්ට්ස් ලා කියන්න මොකද අපි ඔක්කොම ප්‍රොෆෙෂනල්ස් ලා නමුත් අපි කොච්චර ප්‍රමාණයක් අපේ ඉන්නවද කියලා පිරිස සහ ඒගොල්ලෝ දැන් මොනවද කරන්න කියලා යම් කිසි අවබෝධයක් මට ඇති කරගන්න පුළුවන්. ඊට පස්සේ අපි අද පොඩක් සිලබස් එකේ අවුට්ලයින් එක ගැන මම කතා කරන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා. මොකද්ද අපි සිලබස් එකේ කරන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ කියලා. ඊට පස්සේ අද ඊටම කෙටි කාලයක් ඇතුළතදී අපි අද දේශනය අද නිල වශයෙන් මේ සමාරම්භය අපි අද සමාප්ත කරනවා. මේකට හේතුව තමයි අපිට තව පිරිසක් ඉස්සරහට සම්බන්ධ වෙන්න ඉන්නවා. එතකොට අපි දේශනය පටන් ගත්තයින් පස්සේ පිරිස සම්බන්ධ වීමේදී අපිට යම් කිසි ගැටලුවක් ඇති වෙන නිසා. ඒ නිසා අපි අද අපේ මේ දේශනය සාපේක්ෂව ඉතාම කෙටි කාලයක් ඇතුළතදී ඉතාම නෙමේ සාමාන්‍යයෙන් පැයකට ආසන්න කාලයක් ඇතුළතදී කිරීමට බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා. ඒ නිසා මේ මට විශේෂයෙන්ම මං ගැන සඳහන් කරොත් අපි දේශනය පටන් ගන්න ඉස්සෙල්ලා අපේ අර මිස් බුද්ධිකා මතකයි කිව්ව විදිහට මම වෘත්තියෙන් දැනට ජ්‍යෙෂ්ඨ ආර්ථික විශේෂඥවරයෙක් විදිහට කටයුතු කරනවා. විශේෂයෙන්ම මගේ ඒරියා එක ඉකොනොමික් ඩෙවලොප්මන්ට් ඉකොනොමික්ස් වලදී පොඩක් කවුරු ඉන්න පොඩක් ඔයගොල්ලෝ කියන්නේ මෙතන මම මේක ස්ක්‍රීන් ෂෙයා කරන්න. So මම ඉකොනොමික් ඩෙවලොප්මන්ට් ඉකොනොමික්ස් කෙනෙක් විදිහට කටයුතු කරනවා. දැනට මම එක්සත් ජාතීන්ගේ සංවිධානයට අනුබද්ධ ඉන්ටර්නැෂනල් ට්‍රේඩ් සෙන්ටර් එකේ ට්‍රේඩ් ඉකොනොමිස්ට් කෙනෙක් විදිහටත් ඩිලොයිට්ස් ලංකා කියන්නේ ඩිලොයිට්ස් ආයතනයට අදාළ ඩිලොයිට්ස් කියලා කන්සල්ටන්සි ෆර්ම් එකක්. ඒකෙදි ට්‍රේඩ් ඇන්ඩ් ඉන්වෙස්ට්මන්ට් හෙඩ් විදියටත් වගේ කටයුතු කරනවා. ඊට අමතරව මම HNB ෆයිනෑන්ස් ආයතනයේ අධ්‍යක්ෂක මණ්ඩලයේ ඉන්නවා අධ්‍යක්ෂකවරයෙක්. ඒ වගේම මගේ වෘත්තියේදී ගොඩක් SME සෙක්ටර් එක බැංකින් එතකොට ඩෙවලොප්මන්ට් ෆයිනෑන්ස් සම්බන්ධයෙන් මම හිතනවා 20ක පමණ මට දැනට අත්දැකීම් තිබෙනවා. ඉතින් මම හිතන්නේ ඒ අත්දැකීම් එක්ක මට යමක් ඕගොල්ලොත් එක්ක ඉගෙන ගැනීමේ හැකියාව උගන්වීමේ හැකියාව තිබෙනවා. හැබැයි මම කලින් කිව්වා වගේ මේක මේ higher education කියන්නේ මේක two way process එකක්. මේක අර ඉස්කෝල එක හෝ වෙන ස්ථානයක දේශනයක් දෙනවා වගේ නෙමෙයි. මේක අපි දෙකොල්ලෝ එකතු වෙලා කරන එකක්. සමහරලාට මට ඕගලන්ගේ ගොඩක් දේවල් ඉගෙන ගන්න හැකියාවක් මේ කාලේදී ලැබෙයි මගෙන් ඉගෙන ගන්නවට අමතරව. ඉතින් ඒ නිසා so as I told, this is a two-way process. This is not a one way. So sometimes I learn from you and then there might be some things that you also would be able to learn from me. So having said that, so let's have a bit of a self introduction from everybody. I will call your name. So what I would like to, if you can please switch on the camera. If it is uncomfortable or if you're not prepared, that's fine. But what I would like to know is your name, of course, and then from where are you participating or from where are you joining, and maybe little bit of your professional background and the experience. So then I can gauge the program. So I know, like, because some of you might be very senior bankers, or maybe in a mid-career, or maybe just beginning of your career. So there could be some students in this class. So then I would be able to have a bit of understanding of the portfolio of the class, and then I can pitch myself. So having said that, so let's start our self-introduction, and I would invite Mr. Arunachalam Siri Kumaran. Mr. Arunachalam to give a brief introduction of yourself. Arunachalam, if you can switch on your camera and then give a small background of yourself. Thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. I am unable to switch on my camera due to my connectivity issues.
Okay.
I am from Jaffna, work at Head National Bank, regional office as a regional credit lead. I completed my MBA and ABI as well, and Diploma in Management.
And how many years of experience you have, Mr. Arunachalam?
Altogether 16 years in banking.
16 years, okay. Thank you very much. Okay.
Thank you.
Then we go to Mr. Ayomal Pereira. Ayomal, can you hear us?
Yes, hello.
Yes. Are you in a position to switch on your camera?
Yeah. Good evening, sir, and good evening to all. I am Suranjit Ayamal Pereira, who attached to Ceylon Bank PSC, and I am having altogether 16 years of service, and now I am credit analysis attached to Central Region, and I am handling
Excellent.
credits.
Okay, where do you stay, in Kandy or?
Yeah. Yes, my hometown is Kandy.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Pereira. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Shall we go to Mr. Buddhika Disanayaka? Buddhika Disanayaka.
Yes, sir. Good evening. I am Buddhika. I am from Buttala. I am working at National Savings Bank. I am credit officer. I am 10 years working experience in the National Savings Bank.
Savings banks. Okay. Thank
Thank
you.
you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Shall we go to Mr. Chamara Madhushankar? Chamara Madhushankar, you know other?
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
I think you can hear me. I am Chamara.
You cannot switch on the camera. It's difficult for you.
It's difficult, sir. I am from Kirlabana. I am working at Commercial Bank, Naval branch. Presently, I am going to do SME sector.
Okay, very good, very good. Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Chamara. Thanks. Then we have Miss Chamila Subasingh.
Yes, sir. I am Chamila. I am from Polon, Narur, and work at the People's Bank. I have around 10 years experience in banking sector.
10 years. So, Miss Subasingh, what you do, in which area you are working in?
Now I am working as a regional finance coordinator.
Regional finance. You are from Polo Narva.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And we have Mr. Dinesh Piris.
Good evening, sir. I am Mr. Dinesh. I am working at National Savings Bank nearly 8 years. I am a regional office credit officer.
Where are you attached, Mr. Dinesh?
I am attached to regional office as a credit officer.
Regional office of where? Purnagala?
Western Province.
Western Province. Okay. So you are having around 10 years of experience, banking experience,
8
right?
years of experience.
8 years.
Yes.
Okay. Thanks. Thank you, Dinesh. And then we have Mr. Dinesh, Mr. Dinesh Roshan.
I am RBB Bank from Martha branch as a branch manager. I have 16 years banking experience, and I complete banking exams and MA Economics and BA Economics, and working in branch manager.
Branch manager. So, Mr. Roshan, you can be my co-trainer in this program.
Okay, sir.
Okay, so thank you very much. I think we are with your experience. It's a great privilege that we have you in the class. So sometimes because you in Regional Development Bank RDB, so you directly associate with SME, so you might be able to share with us a lot of things from your experience, right? I'm really pleased to have you in this class. Okay, we can go to Mr. Dinusha or Dinusha Vijayasena. Dinusha or Dinusha Vijayasena.
Good afternoon, sir.
You are Dinusha. Okay, sorry.
Yeah. I'm Dinusha. I'm working for Ceylon Bank and currently working for the credit department. And I have almost 6 year experience in banking.
6 year experience in banking. Thank you, Ms. Dinusha. So you are based in Colombo or?
Yes, my branch is Valiveria.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thanks. Okay. So then we have Mr. Gihan Niroshan.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Hello. I'm Gihan. I live in Homakama and currently works at Commercial Bank Head Office. I've been working for 10 years in banking.
10 years. So, Mr. Gihan, what are the areas you are currently involving?
I'm not involving credit. I work at Central Clearing Department.
Central Clearing. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, we have Miss Jayanga Madhushani. Miss Jayanga Madhushani.
I am working at SDB Bank.
Jayanga, yeah. Okay. Difficult to switch on your camera?
Difficult.
Okay, tell.
I am working at SDB Bank attached as credit also SME.
NDB Bank, right?
SDB Bank, Sansa Development Bank.
Sansa Development, okay.
As a credit officer, SME. I am working I have 4 years experience in Monragala branch.
And you are from Monragala?
No, I am from Buttala.
Buttala, okay. Monragala district.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. And we have Mr. Krishnamurthy Janakan. Mr. Janakan?
Good afternoon. I am Janakan from Jaffna, working at Commercial Bank Clutch branch. Attached to credit department, I have 3.5 years experience in bank.
Okay, before Commercial Bank, what was your involvement, Mr. Janakan?
The first appointment in Commercial Bank.
Okay, so then how many years experience you said?
3.5.
Okay, so 3.5. Okay, I thought you have other experience in other divisions also.
No.
Okay, thank you. So then we have Miss Nimanti Vijay Vikrama.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Ms. Vijay Vikrama.
I am working in HMB
Can we see you? Okay. If you can just switch on your camera, unless you have a big inconvenience, because then at least the class can also, because the thing is sometimes this online is very, very difficult, to be honest, right? You know, I mean, for me, it's particularly difficult to speak to a screen, but if you can switch on your camera, so then I can have a little bit of personal touch. Okay, thank you, Mr. Javikram.
Okay, working in HMB Hikadu branch, attached to credit and operation work.
Okay. How many years you have experience?
20 years.
20 years. Okay. So you also can be one of my co-trainers here. Because you have 20 years of experience. Thank you very much. Okay.
Okay.
Then we have Mr. Nirmal Disilva. I think Nirmal have joined in 2 devices. I could see 2 entries, but at least from 1 device, Mr. Nirmal.
Yeah, good afternoon, sir. Actually, having an issue in the laptop. Speaker is not working. That's why I'm joining from phone.
Yeah. By the way, where are you now?
Yeah, I'm from.
By the way, where are you now?
I'm working at.
No, I'm asking where are you now physically?
I'm at Marville actually. I'm from.
No, at your house or somewhere else?
Somewhere else actually. Somewhere else.
Okay. No, that's what I was thinking. Otherwise, I would ask you to maybe remove the mask. But I understand it's not difficult. Okay, no problem.
I'm Panisha Bank, internal audit, 15 years experience with the branch experience plus audit experience.
So you have more internal audit, that sort of experience, not necessarily the credit experience, right?
While I was working at branches, I was involved in the credit as branch operations and credit. And after that, I joined internal audit.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Disilva. We have Mr. Nuwan Premasiri now. Nuwan?
Hello. Good evening, sir.
Yeah, we can hear you, but not very clearly, Mr. Premasiri.
Yeah, good evening, sir.
Mr. Nuwan, can you unmute the mic?
Yeah, connection is there. Connection is M1 Premasiri from Kulia. Hello.
Mr. Premasiri, ඇහෙනවා මේ කොහෙද කතා කරන්නේ?
Yeah, Nulwan Premasiri from the Kuliyapiti as well.
Kuliyapiti, okay.
Yes, from Kuliyapiti working in National Bank.
Okay.
Attached to Hettipola. Hettipola means in Kurunegala district.
Yeah.
Yeah, with 12 years of experience.
How many years of experience?
12 years of experience.
Okay. Very good. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you very much, Mr. Prema. Thank you.
Okay.
So then we go to Mr. Pathumasi. Mr. Pathum?
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
I'm Pathum Masiri, currently attached to Commercial Bank Card Center. I'm having 11 years experience in the bank. Previous, I had 7 years branch experience as well. Currently, I'm in Katunayaka.
Katunayaka. Okay. You have a credit experience as well?
It's like 4 years.
Okay. Thank you. Then we have either Mr. Pavitra Kasturi or Miss Pavitra Kasturi. I'm very sorry if I mispronounce.
Good evening, sir.
Okay, Miss Pavitra. Okay, thank you.
Yes, I am Pavitra Kasturi. I am from Katunayaka. I am currently working in SDB Bank. I have 6 years working experience. Currently, I am work under the credit section in the branch.
Credits. What is the bank you said?
SDB Bank, sir. Sanasa Development Bank.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Miss Pavitra. Then we have Mr. Praneeth Udukuburage.
Hello, sir. I'm sorry, I'm using my husband's machine. Anyway, I'm Purnima from SDB Bank, and I'm attached to Refinance Department at SDB SME unit.
Where do you based in, Miss Purnima?
At head office, Kirulapana.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
Okay.
And we have Mr. Sampath Disanayak.
Good evening, Mr. Asita.
Good
It's really nice to meet you, see you again, because I have participated some credit training programs of you. So it's really nice to see you after a very long time. I'm Sujiva Disanayaka and presently works for Ceylon and playing a credit analyst role attached to Central Region Credit Hub. I have over 15 years of credit experience in banking and joining from Mavanal area.
Thank you, Mr.
You're welcome.
Here you say Sampath, but you have Sujit, right?
My first name is Sujiva, middle name is Sampath, and surname is Disanayaga.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Sujiva. Thanks. Pleased
You're
to have
welcome,
you again, and
Okay.
hopefully we can deepen our knowledge.
Sure, sir. Thank you very much.
So then we have Miss Samudra Bandar.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
I am Samudra Bandar from Monaragala. Currently, I am working at SDB Bank, Pothuil branch, 4 years now, as a credit officer.
Credit officer. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Ms. Samudra. So then we have Mr. Tirunakavursu Sivapriya. I'm sorry, I'm extremely sorry if I mispronounce your name.
Good afternoon, sir. I'm Abhirami from Bangalore district, sir. Yes. Now I attached to Bank of Ceylon. I have 12 years of experience, and as I'm working as a credit officer in Kokadichole branch.
Kokadichole. Okay, right. Okay. So, but this name is not yours. Maybe you are a family member.
My husband's name.
Ah, right. Okay. So thank you, Miss Abhiram. So how many years of experience you have?
12 years.
12 years. Okay. You are in Kokadichole, right?
My hometown is Batiklo. Now I am working at Kokadichole, sir.
Kokadichole. Okay. Thank you. Pleased to have you again. And then we have Mr. Johan Mark.
Good evening, sir. I'm Johan Silva. I'm from Commercial Bank Logistics Department. And I live in Moroto actually. I don't have that much of branch experience, branch exposure, especially in credit, but I know that SME sector is very emerging and very important to Sri Lankan economy, not only to Sri Lanka, but in every country's economic development. So I have decided to engage in this diploma because I know that's very important to have knowledge in SME.
Thank you, Mr. Johan. Thank you very much. Can I have anyone who I could not ask you to give your name, so maybe late joining or whatever reason. If any one of you could not introduce yourself, you have some time. I have seen a couple of colleagues joining and or logging and then log out. All right. Okay. So thank you very much. So for all your the inputs and then the introduction. So as colleagues, you also might realize. So this is where you have a lot of bankers here, like somebody who's having quite a good credit experience, hands-on working with SMEs, and then do that business. And we could see some of colleagues who are having more analytic or analysis skills in different departments. And then there are people like you are, although you are in banking, maybe you're not into SME development, but in maybe like clearing and the logistics and all other. And I have hardly seen anybody who's having quite a less experience, or maybe a student of university or something like that, which to a certain extent it is good. So then we have all the sort of a matured group with a lot of experience. So then let's use this as a sort of a big opportunity or great opportunity to exchange with each other. I don't know what would be the future policies of IBSL or Institute of Bankers in terms of having physical classes, but as of now, because of the situation with the Omicron and because of this again the surge of COVID cases, so I think for at least first couple of weeks, still it would be like this in person. But on the other hand, having said that, what my kind request is, I talk to the officials of IBSL, and then IBSL is sometimes thinking on hybrid model, where people from regions or maybe quite a difficult people from outskirts of Colombo can still join online, like people from Batticaloa or maybe Jaffna or some Monragala. But if anyone of one or two can, at least few can come to the class, you can be physically present. So my kind request is to anyone who would like to physically present in this class, please try to do so if the situation allowed, because it would be quite an important thing for us that we learn mutually. So it would be quite a good possibility, because you can always, I mean, sometimes if you confine to a screen, sometimes your ability to ask questions also would limit, and then your engagement. And then I know some of you, maybe you might have some household responsibilities, so while you're managing your families, managing your kids and all other, you might be listening to this. So all these practical circumstances and practical issues are being noted. So if there would be any possibility, please come and join, right? So that's an open invitation. So unless you have any questions now, I would like to go through the syllabus first, and then we can take it there. I will ask the technical support team of IBSL to come and support me on screen sharing. Just wait a minute. I would like to do. Hope you can see the screen, right?
Yeah, we can see it, sir.
Okay, thank you. All right. So, wait. So this is actually the syllabus that we are trying to do is the syllabus that that you will be going, right, and you will be undertaking. So if you see, I mean, I don't want to, you know, again repeat everything. So the main objective of this sort of program is to see is to I will switch off my camera, so otherwise sometimes is to understand and develop your knowledge and skills of the SME sector. And some of you also just mentioned that SME sector is one that we have to be very conversant and we have to develop because that is considered as the backbone of the economy. And particularly that, you know, I mean, we will discuss in next class, Sri Lanka is having a lot of problems in terms of economy now, and then this would be perhaps one other way that we can develop the economy by contributing to the SME sector. Having said that, there are a lot of issues with the sector, and some of you might know this very well, more than me. And then what we are trying to do is we will try to understand what are these bottlenecks, and then possibility of if, I mean, with our sphere of work, how we can get rid or eliminate these things. So the learning outcomes are also being spelled out here. So first, I will come back to that a little bit later on, but first we will try to understand, before we study on SME sector, a little bit of the country's economy. So maybe first few or one or two lectures would be on country's economy, which is a quite I mean, sometimes you might think that is not really SME relevant, but I think on the other hand, in contrast, SMEs are of the part of the economy, and why the SME sector is having issues of developing by itself is the whole overall macroeconomic context of the macroeconomic context of the sector, the economy. Just wait a minute. So that's the thing. That is where we wanted to see. So, and then we will talk about the importance of the SME sector in economic development and all other. And then we will go to another very interesting session, which we understand the building blocks and the stumbling blocks of SME business. What are the things that you want to have in place to develop the SME as a sort of a sector, and as a particularly SME. Whereas here, what I would like everybody of you have to think as entrepreneurs. Very important thing in banking, and I have been in SME banking for 20 years on different levels, is that we sometimes do not think ourselves or come into the shoes of others who are really doing business. So rather than being a banker, rather than being on one side of the SME or the I would say the desk, if you also try to be entrepreneur, if you also would understand their problems, you would understand what are the particular issues that SME is having. I mean, for example, you might know the issues with raw materials, the issues with labor, energy related cost, the availability and the cost related. So those are the things that most SMEs are suffered. So we try to understand, okay, what would be, I mean, if you want to do a business, what would be your building blocks, or rather what you have to do, and while you are having that, what would be the situation, or what would be your stumbling blocks where you block of development. So having this as a banker would be much more important, because at the end of the day, the credit decision you have to take. And so this is actually we take a little bit on SME perspective, and the second outcome is to think on a banking perspective of the SMEs, because I mean a lot of people say that you have to give cash flow based lending and you have to be SME friendly and all other. But on the other hand, we are having another problem. We have been regulating, where regulator is always keen on our NPLs and our impairments and all other. And how, to in our loan portfolio, what should be the collateralized portfolio and the clean portfolio. And then if you want to go on cash flow based lending, and if you don't collateralize properly your risk levels of the banks, which then on the other hand the institutional sustainability might be at stake. So as bankers, we have a different perspective of lending. So we try to understand these two, where then we can have a little bit of a balancing act. So on one hand, what are the issues with SME, where you go to the shoes of an entrepreneur and SME, and then to see but on the other hand, you also are bankers, so then you do. And if I talk to entrepreneurs, actually I do this. I will ask them to see on the banker's point of view. And whereas you would know, then they also realize that their presentation of their entrepreneurial ventures are extremely poor in terms of business plan preparation, accounting, bookkeeping, and all of that. So we try to understand both areas here. Another one, we go to the principles of lending. So here again, the importance of this module is not only about credit. So this is not a credit management module. So we will go a little bit to technical matters, but we are trying to understand about the SME sector. So SME sector, access to finance, the financing SMEs is one part. But on the other hand, there are a lot of other things, right, which we will discuss. Access to markets, access to technology, resource mobilization, and then renewable energy, and then particularly the business enabling environment. So here we try to understand those things. But this one is basically principles of lending. So who are some of you have said that you have done your bankers exams, some masters and all of that. So this would be a quite easy section for you. Nothing Greek, right? And particularly the bankers, principles. But having said that, who are not in banking or SME business or lending business, this area would be very important, because you will learn new techniques. Then you go to the financial statement analysis. I think no SME course we can do without financial statement analysis. So we will try to analyze the cash flows, P&L, the balance sheets and all of that. I think most of you are familiar with that. Then we go to the project evaluation. So this is very, very important session, students, because the thing is, now, unfortunately, I know that there are colleagues from RDB, our manager there, and then some others, that you are fully focused on development finance or development project financing. But Sri Lanka, we had two different banks like DFCC and NDB for project financing, and that was part of the development agenda. But having said that, due to whatever reason, since we have been made those branches also, or the banks, also been commercialized. So our project financing agenda, national level, really, I would say, disrupted. So project evaluation principles are very important, where you will be analyzing a SME as a project. So this is called project financing. So then rather than on collateral and all other, you would look into their cash flows, look into their operations, particularly their working capital. I would like everybody of you, if you are lending, you have to have a hands-on experience of the working capital management of the business, right? You know what you mean by working capital. Working capital is, the money that required for day-to-day operations. So on working capital perspective, we try to understand the project evaluation as a sort of a project management or project financing point of view. If you are coming from NDB or DFCC originally, and to a certain extent RDB, you might have a little bit of experience of this. But I think for a lot of young bankers, you don't have this. So this is one other thing. A risk we will discuss, but risk here we will discuss a little bit more on credit risk. But risk is multifaceted. It could be operational risk, it could be market risk. Operational risk is like risk of managing the institute or the bank, and then the market risk is marketing, and then there's a very important risk, credit risk. Now here, when it's come to risk perspective, we don't talk about much other risk, but we focus about credit risk and how we manage the credit risk. So this is we are discussing more on SME's perspective. And then security documentation. So you as bankers, you should know, basic legal aspects. You don't have to be a lawyer, but what are the documentation required and all. And then you with a sort of the report, you will go for some practical experience of how to do a project evaluation by forecasting and all. So this is what. So this is the areas. So I would skip the target group, but so to cover these learning objective, we have 8 modules we will be following, as Mrs. Godakanda said. Please be very, very serious on these modules. And very important point I want to tell, that some lecturers will use a lot of PowerPoint slides, and they will screen share and they will try to explain this in PowerPoints, which are of the style of some lecturers. But there are some group of lecturers, including me, that I don't believe much on PowerPoint. So what I would do is, I would do it in the class where we do very involvement, acting thing, where I might most probably use the board. So that's why we have all these good quality cameras here. So in my class, which I mean, that is, in fact, that is different from lecturer to lecturer. But in my class, what I would like is full participation. So it's very hard, particularly in my lessons, if you are not in the class, to follow it up. There could be very few slides, very few notes I will give, right? But what I would like is, within the class, active participation among yourselves. So this is, and there could be some lecturers, there could be a lot of slides. So as professionals and experienced people, you have to balance and gauge through that. So the modules, the first one is SME sector, economic development, so which I will do. And then module 2, lending basics guidelines. So either I will not do this one, but that I think Mr. Narayana or somebody will do this. I don't know who are the lecturers, so I will refrain from commenting it. It is IBSL's responsibility. Then we go for a deeper understanding of financial statements. So then we will try to do it through some case studies and some basic stuff. Then we go to the credit appraisal techniques, a few techniques, and then particularly when it's come to working capital, how you finance and how you basically assess your working capital and all that. So then there will be quite a case study situation where with the Bankers Institute will give some cases, and based on that you have to work on that. So there could be real time, the situation. So this case studies, and then you have to based on that case, you have to produce sort of like in the first one you said here, project evaluation and all of that. Then risk management, again, it will be sometimes I might do that part also. It is of credit risk management. Ms. Dalreen, most probably Mrs. Senaviratna will do the securities and the legal aspect, documentation, securities and SME finance. And then there is another model which is recovery and remedial management. But I think this module will be very, very interesting and important to you, even though it is pushed to the last module, because in COVID situation, because in post-COVID situation that we always talk about business recovery, re-establishment, retooling and repurpose of that. So business recovery and business repurposing, retooling will be discussed at the module 8. So this is one, and the duration would be totally lecturing wise, it would be 96 hours. But again, I would say this is not only lecturing, so it should be at least minimum 150 hours in terms of your personal involvement. So lectures, reports, and final examination. And let me just then give the assessment criteria of this one. So with the case studies, you will have to complete a project report, which you will get the guidance later on. You don't have to worry. Where its weight is 30%. So it's very important, particularly if you want to get a distinction, you must do the project evaluation very well based on the case studies, and then you will have a final exam. I would personally prefer that you have in between small assignment and have at least around 30% for the final exam, but because the typical British system, then most of our examination structures are working. So what we will have a final exam which is 70 marks, right? So then as total you will get 100 marks. And then when it's come to grading, you know, to pass, every one of you should have more than 50% of marks, right? So if it is 50 and below, fail, right? So you should work for 50 marks minimum. And then once it is more than 81, it is a distinction, and when it is more than 65, it should merit. And I would say there's no reason that you should just pass, but try your level best to the distinction or a merit. So a little bit before we take a short break for 15 minutes, before I come to the other economic section, I would like to go through at least very detailedly on my ones, but I will just, because I was part of the developing of this curricula, so that's why I know a little bit of this overall. So we first module 1, which we start from next week onwards, I think for 4 or 5 lectures we will go to a little bit of macroeconomy, situation of the economy, fiscal policy, monetary policy, and all of that. And then we come to the SME sector definition. So you will have the SME policy framework for that, which is approved by the government, and then the government is supposed to be working on. And then I hope you can hear me, right? Can I have a feedback from somebody else? Can you hear me?
Yeah, sir. We can hear you.
Okay, because I got a message of the signal. So then the SME sector. So then we will go to some of the central bank guidelines of SMEs, lesson learned, and then we go to the SME policy framework, and we go to the SME banking approach, right, which is of relationship banking, and then of course cross-selling. So this is basically SME sector, and it's important to the economic of development of a country. So this is module 1. And module 2, it's a sort of principles of guidance and good lending. And then I think if any one of you have followed the credit diploma here, and that's something of credit, you will know that. I mean, you will find this module be quite easy. So then we go for the best practices on lending, and then the advances, and then we go for a particular section on international trade, credit lines, and all other, and then again, like, you know, what would be the sort of a good practices and guidelines for lending, which actually not me, but some other lecturer would do. Then we go to a little bit more, which sometimes I might do. It's a bit of a clinical assessment of the financial statements, right? We will go to the balance sheet, P&Ls, cash flows, and fund flows, and the notes to the account. We will go do a little bit on more ratio calculation, and particularly the interpretation of ratios and all other. And then how we use this interpretation for decision making, the DSCR calculation, debt service cover calculation, and then how we can take a credit decision based on that. Then more on to the credit part, and then, you know, from seeing and interviewing of the customers, stock verification, cross-checking, and all other you will do, and then the credit appraisal techniques. There are a number of appraisals. I mean, people who are in the SME sector, you know, market appraisal, technical management, and all other. So, and then risk associated with this, and then asset cycle, working capital, and then all the things. And if we have some time, we will do this one. Some of you know, I'm sorry, the little bit of advanced techniques of net present value, IRR, or ERR, and then payback period, sensitivity analysis, and all of that. But I mean, I have to tell sometimes, I mean, if the time does not permit, so I mean, let's honestly speaking, in SME sector, we might not use these things. We might not do this, but if time permits, we will definitely do that. Then you will have case studies basically on 3 sectors. You will have particularly agriculture and livelihood sectors, and then you have industrial sector, manufacturing sector, which is on food and beverage, and then you have exporting sector, SME. So this case studies, then you'll go a little bit, you know, try to clinically understand. And here, if you have some experience, you might again contribute a lot, because I mean, these are very of course with experience and practical examples, but still these are case studies. Okay, then we go to the risk management. As I told, we will first discuss about the basic categories of risk, but then we go to particularly focus on the credit risk side, and then we talk about the KYC, staff training, best practices, and all other in this one. Security documentation, I will not go much. So this is more legal kind of aspect, securities and all other. You don't be a lawyer, but this is what you would know, the different type of one, purpose, and then what would be the guarantees, the issues with the guarantees, advantages, and when it comes to mortgages, what do you mean by that, primary mortgage, secondary mortgage, and all other, and the legal aspect, and little bit of its consequences also when it comes to recovery. And the last, and that was not the least one, is the recovery and remedial management. It's all about, how you supervise credit, how you maintain, what are the good recovery practices, how you manage the delinquency of your portfolio, and particularly to foster that, what would be the proper remedial mechanism, or and the monitoring and follow up, and as well as the remedial mechanism. So those are the things that we are going to do. So to a certain extent, legal procedures and exit strategies also you will learn. So these are the things that you will be studying in this module, right? So this is now, it's almost 3:30. I would like, before we go to the macroeconomic and SME policy framework, I would like, we will have around 15 minutes break until, not 15 minutes, let's take a 20 minutes break. So if you have any other activities, we'll resume at 4 o'clock exactly. And then we will go a little bit to the SME policy framework, just for your understanding, very, very short session. And then we will wind up for today. And then from next week onward, then we will be able to start the session, the economic session. And then by that time, we hope that there will be other registration which is been subscribed and will come. So then we will have a full-fledged session. So around 20 minutes, you have a break and take your own other activities and be here resuming this class at 4 o'clock, right? So thank you very much. Before we wind up for the break, regarding the syllabus and anything, assessment method, if any one of you have questions, you can ask now. Or maybe you can refer these and ask me or the management later. Some administrative matters when the exam will be and all other, it is none of my responsibility. You have to tackle that with administration, but in terms of academic stuff, you can ask from me. Okay, so we will take around 20 minutes break and then be here at 4 o'clock, where we will discuss about the general principles of SME policy framework. Thank you. I think every one of you again joined. So let us very briefly go through the SME policy framework, which we will go into much detail in next week or maybe the following week. And I hope, wait, let me share this. I hope that you will have the opportunity to read this in next week, right? So this is the SME national SME policy framework, which we will discuss in future. මේ SME policy framework එකේ importance එක මේක අර අපි කිව්වා වගේ දැන් මේ program එක credit විතරක් නෙමෙයි. ඒ කියන්නේ SME finance කරාට SME finance වලට අමතරව තියෙන අපි overall knowledge එකක් අපි ගන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා SME sector එක ගැන. දැන් ගොඩක් වෙලාවට අපි bankers ලා විදිහට අපිට තියෙනවා යම්කිසි experience එකක්. නමුත් අපි SME ඊට වඩා චුට්ටක් වෙනස් විදියකින් මේ SME sector එක දිහා බලනවා. ඒ කියන්නේ SME sector එක SME එකක් විදියට මේ එයා කොහොමද ඒ කියන්නේ මේ entrepreneurship එකේ පැත්තෙන් අපි SME එක බලන අතරේ අපි SME එක කොයි ආකාරයෙන්ද ෆයිනෑන්ස් කරන්නේ සහ මේකේ රෝල් එකක් බලනවා. මෙන්න මෙතනදී මේ 2000 මේක ඇත්තටම 2015 16 අවුරුද්දේ තමයි මේ policy framework එක ලංකාවේ approve කරන්නේ. අපි ඊට පස්සේ රජයන් වෙනස් වුණාට අපි දැකපු එක තමයි මේ SME policy framework එකේ තියෙන මේ සංවර්ධන ඉලක්ක කිසිම රජයක් ප්‍රතික්ෂේප කරේ නැහැ. හැබැයි එකම දේ තියෙන සමහර වෙලාවට ඒ කාලවල් වලදී සමහර වෙලාවට තිබෙන ඒ ජාතික සහ ඒ ජාත්‍යන්තරයේ අවශ්‍යතා මත සමහර වෙලාවට මේකේ emphasis එක වෙනස් වෙන්න පුළුවන්. emphasis එක වෙනස් වුණා හෝ නොවුණා මේ තියෙන ප්‍රධානම දේවල්. So what I wanted to tell is that sometimes depending on the on situations this might change the priorities, but on the other hand what you have to understand is that that main features of this policy has not been changed. එතකොට මේ policy framework එක වලට එවයි මේක එවලා තියෙනවා නම් එවලා නැත්තම් මේකෙදී විශේෂයෙන්ම අපි කතා කරනවා introduction එක මට මේ document මේක තමයි තාම වැදගත් වෙන්නේ මේ පේන දේ. මේ policy framework එකේ තියෙනවා policy එකේ vision එක මොකද්ද, mission එක මොකද්ද, ඊට පස්සේ objective එක මොකක්ද කියලා. එතන මේක හොඳට කියව ගන්න මේක ඉතාම වැදගත්. මේ තියෙනවා මෙතන policy vision එක. ඒ කියන්නේ අපේ ලංකාවේ SMEs කොහොමද අන්තර්ජාතික මට්ටමට international තත්ත්වයට ගෙනියන්නේ කියන එක. ඊට පස්සේ mission එක තියෙනවා ඒක කොහොමද කරන්නේ සහ ඒක achieve කරන විදියට කොහොමද achieve කරන්නේ කියලා එක මෙතනදී අපි පැහැදිලිව ඒ policy එකේදී සඳහන් කරනවා. ඉතින් මේ ටික ඔක්කොම පොඩ්ඩක් refer කරන් එන්න. ඊට පස්සේ මේ SME ශාස්ත්‍රයේ තියෙන සංවර්ධන කළ යුතු ඒ කොටස් සංවර්ධනය කරන්න ප්‍රධාන වශයෙන්ම මෙතන 6 බැදෑරුම් the 6 intervention areas 6 බැදෑරුම් areas ටිකක් අපි අඳුරගෙන තියෙනවා. එතනදී මේක කියවුවා මෙතන පොඩක් ස්ක්‍රීන් ෂෙයා එකේදී පැහැදිලි මදි. පළවෙනි එක තමයි enabling environment. එහෙම නැත්නම් what is SME වලට පහසුකාරක පරිසරයක්. So enabling environment, so create enabling environment for SMEs to develop. ඉතින් මේකෙදි අපි මොනවද කළ යුත්තේ? ඉතින් දැන් මේක අපි කරන එකෙන් අපි බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ අපිට සමහරවිට මේ තියෙන ඔක්කොම දේවල් කරන්න බැරි වෙයි. මොකද මේක සමහර රජය විසින් කරන්න ඕන දේවල්. නමුත් අපිට අවබෝධයක් ඇති කරගන්න පුළුවන්. ඒතකොට SME sector එක කොයි විදිහටද හැදෙන්න ඕනේ. දැන් අපි මේක මේ විශේෂයෙන් මේ policy paper රාජ්‍ය මට්ටම හදනකොට මම උපදේශකවරයෙක් විදිහට කටයුතු කරා. එතකොට මොනවා කළොත්ද හොඳ? අපි ඇයි මොනවද නොකර තියෙන්නේ? ඇයි මොනවා කරපු රටවල්ද මැලේසියා වගේ රටවල් දියුණු වෙලා තියෙන්නේ? මොකද මේකෙදි තාම වැදගත් මේක තමයි SME sector එක විදියට ගත්තාම අපි කොහෙද අපි කොහොමද යන්න ඕනේ? අපේ මොනවද තියෙන අඩුපාඩු මොනවද? අපි කොහොමද මේක සාර්ථක කරගන්නේ? අනිත් රටවල් වල මොන වගේ දේවල් තිබිච්ච නිසාද SME sector එක සාර්ථක වුණේ? තව රටවල් වල මොනවා හරි නොතිබ්බ නිසාද SME sector එක අසාර්ථක වුණේ? ඒතර මේ වගේ සාර්ථක වෙන්න බලපෑපු කරුණ මොනවද? මේ විදියට අපි එතන කතා කරනවා. මේක ඊටාම වැදගත් එකක්. මේ සම්බන්ධයෙන් වැඩි විස්තර මේකේ පස්සේ තව විස්තර සඳහන් වෙනවා. ඊළඟට ටෙක්නොලොජි and ඉනෝවේෂන් ගැන අපි කතා කරනවා. ඒ කියන්නේ SME sector එකේ ටෙක්නොලොජි එහෙම නැත්නම් තාක්ෂණයේ භාවිතාව සහ නවෝත්පාදනය කියන එක ඊටාම වැදගත්. ඒක කොහොමද අපි තියෙන්නේ විශේෂයෙන්ම අපි තාක්ෂණයත් එක්ක යනකොට කොහොමද අපි දන්න අපේ රටේ SME වලට තියෙන එක ලොකුම ගැටලුවක් තමයි මේ තාක්ෂණය ඒගොල්ලන්ට ලබා ගැනීම ලොකු ප්‍රශ්නයක් තියෙනවා. So there's a huge problem of technology development and technology adaptation, right? So you have to make sure that you do that. ඊළඟට අපේ තියෙනවා ඊළඟ එක තමයි skills development, entrepreneurship skills development. So one of the main area we want to develop in future is to develop the entrepreneurship within the country. And developing entrepreneurship, it's not necessarily it's not something that you have to teach. Entrepreneurship is not that you teach anything and do, but it's a skill and that sort of a mental characteristics that you have to develop. So ඒක develop කරන්න අපි මොනවද කරන්න ඕනේ? ඒක සමහරලාට ළමයින්ගේ පාසල් පද්ධතිය ඉඳලා entrepreneurship develop කරන්න ලොකු වැඩ කොටසක් කරන්න තියෙනවා. So අපි ඒක කතා කරනවා. මොකද ඒ entrepreneurship එක ඒ විදිහට develop වුණේ නැත්නම් රටේ හොඳ SME මේව එකක් එන්නේ නැහැ. SME culture එකක් හැදෙන්නේ නැහැ. ඊළඟ access to finance ගැන අපි කතා වෙනවා. දැන් ඔයගොල්ලෝ මේවා කියනකොටම තේරෙයි මොකක් මේවා නොවිච්ච හින්දාද that the country's SME situation is like that. Why country is bleeding? Why country does not have any entrepreneurship? Why country is having a lot of issues with the sector? You will realize once you read that. So unfortunately, these things we will discuss this in detail. Has been not adopted by successive government, and that's the thing. But at least as professionals, you should know. So the fourth one is access to finance. So we will discuss a lot in access to finance, what to do, what not to do. And you know, on one hand, SMEs are, SMEs do not have collaterals to offer. So it is good that we want to go for a cash flow based lending, cash flow oriented lending. But having said that, for the banks, cash flow assess කරලා cash flow එක base කරලා ඒ bank එකේ decision එක ගන්න එක ටිකක් ලොකු අමාරු තත්ත්වයක්. මොකද එකක් cash flow analysis වල මම කෝගේ project finance වගේ කරන you don't have that skill set. ඒ skill set එක නෑ. හැබැයි අනිත් පැත්තෙන් අපි එහෙම කරනකොට ඒ තියෙන risk එක we have a huge risk to cover. ඒක. ඊළඟට market facilitation එහෙම තමයි අපි ඒකට market access කියලා කිව්වත් කමක් නෑ. So one of the other thing that most SMEs are facing is that lack of market, lack of proper access to market. So this is actually for formal market as well as particularly I would like international market. So අපි කොහොමද international market එක මේවා කරන්නේ? හිතන්නේ මොනවද කරන්න තියෙන්නේ? So we are having a 21 million population in the country. So if you develop something only to cater that 21 million population, that is not sufficient. So how we create something to the greater community to achieve other areas, other sectors, but then what shall we do? Another one is research and development. Make a technology එකත් එක්කම එන එකක්. R&D එකේදී අපි කොහොමද මේක සිද්ධ කරන්නේ කියලා. ඒ නිසා අපි ওই ටික කතා කරනවා. There's a cross cutting විදිහට ඒ කියන්නේ මේ ඔක්කොටම යන විදිහට අපි regional balance කියලා කියනවා. Regional balance කියලා කියන්නේ අපි කොහොමද ශේෂ්ත්‍රයක් විදිහට how we can involve the entire regions of the country. It should not be Colombo or Central or the Western province bias, but how we can do that. Another one is we are talking about the resource efficiency. Total efficiency එක කොහොමද එහෙම නැත්නම් අපි සම්පත් වල efficiency කොහොමද කරන්නේ විශේෂයෙන්ම අපි how we use renewable resources අන්න ඒ ටික අපි කතා කරනවා. ඊට පස්සේ SME එකේ definition එක තියෙනවා මෙතන. දැන් මේක තමයි අපේ දැනට පවතින definition එක. එතකොට මේක තමයි ආණ්ඩුව පිළිගන්න definition එක. අපි දන්නවා SME definition එක සම්බන්ධයෙන් ලංකාවේ ගැටලු ගොඩාක් තියෙනවා. බැංකුවෙන් බැංකුවට මේක වෙනස්. credit line එකෙන් credit line එකට මේක වෙනස්. රජයෙන් රජයට මේක වෙනස්. සමහරට budget speech එකෙන් budget speech එකට මේක වෙනස්. එහෙම. නමුත් අපිට ඒක ගැන worry වෙන දෙයක් නෑ. මොකද මේක තමයි මේක දැනුවත් දැනගත්තත් නොදැනගත්තත් දැනට ලංකාවේ තියෙන definition එක මේක තමයි. මොකක් හරි sector එකක employees 300ට වඩා අඩු නම් ඒක SME sector එකක් විතර ගන්නවා. එතන 10ට අඩු නම් ඒක SME වල micro විතර ගන්නවා. ඒක manufacturing sector එක තමයි 300, services sector එකට ඒක 200 දක්වා අඩු වෙලා තියෙනවා. ඉතින් ඕක තමයි තියෙන්නේ. The turnover based definition එකකුත් තියෙනවා. manufacturing ඒක නම් මිලියන 750ක්. හැබැයි සමහරලාට දැන් තර්ක ඉදිරිපත් වෙනවා මේ තියෙන inflation තත්ත්වෙත් එක්ක මිලියන 750 කියන්නේ turnover එක. ඒක මීට වඩා වෙනස් විය යුතුද කියලා. මොකද මේක දැන් සාමාන්‍යයෙන් අවුරුදු 5ක විතර පරණ කියන්නේ පරණ දෙයක්. ඉතින් ඒක සමහර වෙලාවට වෙනස් වෙන්න වෙයි. නමුත් දැනට තියෙන තත්ත්වය අනුව ඒක එහෙම තමයි තියෙන්නේ. එතකොට ඔය ටික තමයි අපි එතනදී දැනගන්න ඕනේ. ඊට පස්සේ මේ enabling environment ඉදලා මොනවද හැම එකේම කළ යුත්තේ technology හැම එක කළ යුත්තේ මොකද්ද? ඉතාලම සරලව ඉතාලම හොඳට මේ document එක තුලදී විග්‍රහ වෙලා තිබෙනවා. ඒ නිසා සියලුම දෙනා ඊළඟ lecture එකට එනකොට මේ document එක refer කරගෙන එන්න මම හිතන අපිට ගොඩක් අවශ්‍යයි ඒ දැනුම. මේවා එක ඊට අමතරව අපි economic analysis එකේ ඉඳලා ලබන සතියේ ඉඳලා පටන් ගමු. මොනවාද මොන areas වලද කොයි විදිහටද අපි අපේ රටේ economy කොයි විදිහට තිබුණේ ඒ economy එක තව අපි improve කරගන්න අපි මොනවද යන දැන් තියෙන ප්‍රශ්න මොනවද ඒ ප්‍රශ්න වලට හේතු මොනවද අපි ගොඩක් කට we know all these economic problems, at least we feel them, but we will try to understand what would be the situation. So main purpose of all these is to create an awareness. So we might not be able to find solution for every problem, but at least we will be able to find some knowledge, some attitude change, how to address these things. එතකොට ඒ ටික තමයි අපි ඊළඟ lectures දෙක තුනේදී අපි සාකච්ඡා කරන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ. එහෙමනම් මම මෙතනින් වැඩි වෙලා ගන්න බලාපොරොත්තුවක් වෙන්නේ අද. අපි එහෙමනම් මෙතන ඉඳලා අපේ අද දිනේට සාකච්ඡාව සමාප්ත කරමු. අපි ඊළඟ පාරේ ඉඳලා අපි 1:30 අපි තියන්නේ online තියේ. එතකොට 1:30 to 4 1 2 3 4 අපි කව 5 විතර වෙනවා. අපි ගොඩක් 5:00 විතර වෙනකන් යන්නේ නැහැ. We will do around 4:30. So then we will discuss. So please read the SME policy framework, and that's only that I am giving as a reading materials. So there will be very few slides. I might not distribute any slide in future. I mean, in at least for the next future 2 to 3 lectures. But everybody is expected to be in the class. So we do in this board. So I will do some deliberation, and I will kindly request you to take a notebook and as well as your pens and highlighters and discuss, journal, and proactively engage with the lectures. Right? So thank you very much. We can stop the class for today, and we will meet on next Saturday at 1:30.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Sampath and everybody. And we will meet next Saturday at 1:30. And until then, have a good week.